So, um, we are Stevens Place. We are located in Vancouver, Washington, and that is not the beautiful British Columbia. People often say, "Oh my gosh, I love Vancouver." We are close to Portland, Oregon, and we're so close. We are about 15 minutes from the Portland airport, so it makes it easy for our families from all over the United States to come and visit our residents. We are, let's see, we call ourselves an independent apartment community. We also have an assisted living license, and our goal is for residents to live as independently as possible and support them in all activities of life. I often say we want residents to live the life that neurotypical people get to live and then support them where they can't do that independently. And our goal is to support our community, our residents through the end of life. That makes us a little bit different than other programs in that sometimes we have to bring in services that we might not typically provide for people, but that transition out of any living program that you've lived in for many years or home that you've lived in for many years at the end of life can speed things along or make it really difficult for family. And our goal is to keep it as much like home as possible. So we were founded by, like many programs maybe on here and many programs throughout the United States that are fantastic that we get to work with, by a family. Joan Cooney and Wayne Cooney had two sons with developmental disabilities. And one of their sons, Stephen, who we are named after, passed away in his 20s. And his brother, Michael, who is in the teal shirt here, I don't know if you can see my cursor, standing next to his mom, Joan. And there's his dad. Michael was one of our first residents. And he lived prior to living here 25 years married and in an apartment community with supports in and out. And his parents said, when we're gone and nobody's here to choose who cares for Michael, what do we do? And this was Joan Cooney's dream, as many wonderful families have done. And here we are. So we are a 501c3. We were built in 2014. We had our first residents move in 2015 in February. And we are designed by a company called C2K Architects. I bring it up only because we're currently working with them on the next phase of what we will be. We'll talk about that later. We opened with 2 residents and 10 employees in February of 2015. And it was quite interesting to walk into a 40,000 square foot building and have 2 residents that you're supporting. There wasn't a plan for filling. The family just knew there was a need and said, let's build this and we'll get there. So our building, we are in a suburban setting, again, Vancouver, Washington. We are a suburb of Portland, Oregon, and we have easy access to shopping, activities, transportation, as well as coffee shops, which are very popular with our residents, walking to those and enjoying life. We are a 40,000 square foot building. We have 41 independent apartments. So our apartment doors open into the inside, and we have a number of common areas for our residents to enjoy together. We do have a Washington State assisted living license. So our license allows us in Washington State to have 41 of our residents living together, as well as provide a variety of medical supports, things like, medication, nursing assessments, and some other maybe more medically complex needs that we support than other programs because of that. So things that make us a little bit different. We have gardens and a greenhouse, an outdoor courtyard, and then you can keep reading. It'll be here. So every resident has an apartment, and our pricing model is based on apartment size. Our studios are our smallest apartments, and then we have a premium and 1 bedroom apartment. They all have their own private bathroom, kitchen area with full size and fridge and sink. There's no ovens because the assisted living license limits us from having ovens. There are some that have stovetops. We do provide 3 meals and 2 snacks. I'm going to toss that in here and again, but 3 meals and 2 snacks throughout the day. So residents don't have to cook, but many of our residents do make small meals in their apartments. We have a wireless call system throughout the building, which is really helpful in moments where residents maybe are suffering an injury and need assistance, where there's an emergency. Obviously, that's the main reason for it. But it's also helpful when you have a resident who's new to the building and you want to make sure as they're coming out of their apartment that they're greeted in the middle of the night if they're up. So it allows us to do some of those kinds of things, which is really thoughtful, I think. And the residents furnish their apartments, and so we have, oh my gosh, we have varied themed apartments. We have an elephant apartment, a Flintstones apartment, sports apartments. So it's kind of fun to go in and see how somebody's set up their apartment when they're just moving in. And they pick their apartment during the application process. So we allow them to see any in that available size, and they get to pick what view that is best and who it's by. Maybe they've made a friend. So that's really nice. And let's see, residents with our support clean their apartments and do their own laundry. And as our residents age, those services can change too. We serve adults who are 18 years and older that have an intellectual or developmental disability diagnosis. We are long-term placement, so there are other programs where you go for a few years, learn how to live independently, and might move out. We could be that for somebody, but we really have built our community with the intention of being home through end of life, if that's what a resident chooses. Our residents are semi-independent in their ADLs when they start with us. And that varies, for the most part, most residents are pretty independent. Some might need assistance with showers, toileting, things like that. And we provide that support. And as a resident ages, again, those transitions in life where they may need more support, we provide that. We are a private pay community. So I'll get into finances a little bit later and talk about how that works for us. And it's really important for us that our residents can communicate their pain and any needs that they may have, verbally or otherwise. We do have residents that are nonverbal, and their communication is just as good as mine. So that is an important piece of what we do. Residents need to be appropriate with peers in a community environment and want to live in community and socialize, because as you can imagine, 41 people living together takes an ability and want to get to know people. You're walking through areas where there's lots of people all the time. And so we really have strived for having that community setting. Our application process is pretty similar to a lot of other programs in that we have an application. I would say the one piece that's different is the in-home evaluation part. We go to wherever our resident is currently living. We see how life is set up for success for them. And there's little things that a family would never think to write in an application because it's just how they've done something for 20 years. And we get to pick up on those pieces as we do that in-home evaluation. I always take typically our operations director with me to those in-home evaluations. 2 eyes, you get to see more things, you get to have more conversations, or 2 sets of eyes, I should say. We each have 2 eyes, but you get to see more things, pick up on things that maybe a family isn't talking about, that a pillow that's shaped a little differently that's helping somebody sleep better, or a lamp that's just a little bit closer to the bed because if they get out of bed early at night, they're up all night, things like that you might not catch otherwise. And I think that's part of our application process. It sets us apart from other programs. and really makes a difference in our ability to create a care plan for our residents and support them successfully in life. And then our residents do a 1 week stay with us. It's a fun time to get to know them. Originally, when we started 10 years ago, it was 3 to 4 days. And we just found that it wasn't enough time to really get to know somebody and make sure that we could support all of their needs. So we increased that time. And that is about that. Programs and services. Oh my gosh. I would say you can read the slide. The thing that I would say is all of the things that you love doing in life, that is our goal to provide for our residents as well. So when they move in and they have never done that one thing, they've never been to the beach or uh, they've never gone to a professional basketball game and they love basketball. Those are the things that we really want to provide for our residents. Get that life experience, be fulfilled in life. We also really want to, if residents would like to, make sure that they have a job and provide a reason to get up and go and do and show that they're providing something to the rest of the world. And it's important, I think, for each of us that are here and what we do in our jobs, and ends up being really important for our residents too. I'll talk about one resident in particular later who was an essential employee during COVID. And, just like us, our residents are important in what they do. So our residents who can't work volunteer. And those that can't volunteer independently, we do group volunteer things all the time. So it's really fun. We do have a day program as well. And we started that because when we opened with a 40,000 square foot building and 2 residents and 10 team members, we needed to fill it. And so we said, we'll offer a day program twice a week. It'll be an opportunity for our residents to get to make friends and have entertainment throughout the day. And then we just kept doing it because our day program participants are a huge part of our family. They come to a lot of our events and they're really important to us. Our day program has also been a place where when people live in our community, they start attending, and then at some point they might move in if that's a possibility for them. Otherwise, we have yearly overnight trips, so residents can experience life outside of Stevens Place more regularly and for multiple nights. And we offer medication assistance, transportation to medical appointments. We schedule medical appointments and are regularly talking with doctors and other providers for how best to support our residents. I also mentioned at the bottom of this page, family and guardian communication and participation, and it varies for residents. Some of our older residents maybe have some siblings involved and we keep them up to date about what's going on. And some of our younger residents have parents who've advocated on behalf of their person for 20, 30 years, and they're still really wanting to be a part of their life. So we keep them up to date on what's going on. Just a couple of quick visuals if you're better with looking at pictures of things that we do with residents, programs and services that we provide. Can't help to put a picture of a resident in. Always fun. Our residents, the one thing that we mentioned on this page, our community board, we have a board of activities that residents can attend on their own. And they might schedule transportation on their own as well, or might have our assistants scheduling transportation, but it's activities that residents can go and do independently. Many of our residents leave regularly and let us know when they're going to be back, and it's part of that. So I mentioned that our residents are employed if they wish to be. We have probably 8, 9 residents currently working paid employment. We have residents that are volunteering as a job. And then again, I mentioned residents that volunteer with Stevens Place and a number that are retired. We have residents who have worked, oh my God, we've had residents who work 29 years, 39 years, and it's really fantastic to see and to be able to appreciate all that they've done. Our residents have jobs in retail, grocery. We had a resident who was working in STEM. They're not currently right now. Uh, Food and beverage, volunteering, obviously, and then community mentors. What do our residents look like at Stevens Place? You've seen some great pictures of them, but they a little bit more about them. Their diagnoses are people who are on the autism spectrum, people with Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, traumatic brain injuries. That might be different than some programs. I know that that can be a challenge for some programs to support. And then just other developmental disabilities and intellectual disabilities. Our residents vary in age, which, there are programs where you have to be a certain age to move in, within an age range, 30 to 35 maybe. And then that group ages together. Our residents are all aging in different ages at various points. So it's really beautiful to see in a community setting. Sometimes our older residents are very protective of our younger ones, and our younger ones are, holding spots at the dining room table for our older residents. So it's just really neat to see. Living setting prior to coming to Stevens Place. This was really exciting for us to kind of dig into and look at. Originally, we had said we were hoping to have residents who had previously lived somewhere else independently. And as people came in, we realized they're living independently here. They have some supports, but we're really closing off a large chunk if we say that. And here we are, 70% almost of our residents have lived with a family prior to moving into Stevens Place. And that was like their direct living situation prior to moving in, and have seen success with those residents. And that's really fun because many times families think that that is not an option for their loved one. And we are so happy that we can provide that. We'll talk a little bit about that more in a bit. This is our org chart. So we have an amazing board of directors, very supportive, and always looking for what else we can do in the world. There's myself. We have an operations director, and she's fantastic at managing day-to-day operations, communicating with families. She also does volunteer management a bit with some help. Mary is our nurse, and she's fantastic as well. She makes sure that our residents are being taken care of, jumps in when they have a concern, and is on top of all of the doctor's visits. I think we looked at how many providers we worked with, and it's like an insane number of 79 or something that just those PCPs and people you would see pretty regularly. So lots of communication. Allison is our administrative director, and she does onboarding with team members. She does billing and all of the financial pieces in the background, that data entry. I do a few things. You can look at that. Katie is our activities. She's no longer our activities director. She's our programs director. And she is in charge of all of the programming that we do, including Lissa, who is our activities manager and does our activities every day, our trips. One of the things I'll mention later is that we love growing people from within. And Alyssa started in the kitchen, started doing some activities with our residents around food and around meals and recipes, and her ability to plan things was so well thought out that we offered her this opportunity to try. And so she was part-time in the kitchen and part-time in activities, and boy, she just excelled and is now full-time doing this. So it's really fun when we have the opportunity to do that for somebody, and it's amazing to look around and see how many people have grown here. Our executive chef has a part-time and a full-time cook under him. We serve foods that are cooked fresh. We're not pulling freezer foods out of the freezer and heating them up. And we ask our team to eat with our residents for lunch and dinner if that's an option for them. They're paid for that time. It's an opportunity to build a relationship. It's an opportunity to get to know more about what's going on. And it, for me, from a management standpoint, I get to see when people are eating our food and really participating in those meals versus bringing their food. So it is a good indicator of all of the good food that we're cooking in the kitchen. And then we have our maintenance guru, Corey. And Corey has some support as well, but he manages to keep a building that is 10 plus years old looking really fantastic and new. So our financial overview, our budget for 2025 is 2.9 million. 70% of our budget is personnel, as you would expect, very similar to many programs. We do not have any debt. We when the land was purchased and the building was built, they were all for Stevens Place. And so that allows us to have a smaller, more maybe more affordable costs for our residents. We're not charging them any leasing that we're having to pay. Our revenue comes from three sources: 3% from fundraising, just a small amount right now, 8% from a grant that we receive, an operations grant, and 89% of our funding is from rent and service fees. We have only increased our fees 6% over the original apartment cost. And early on, our pricing was set, if you think back to the apartment slide that had the three different sizes and the pricing, they're all priced pretty close together, within $300 of each other. And originally, the pricing difference was much more significant, and people were choosing their apartments based on the price of them instead of the need or the ability. And so we changed that early on. We had people living in studio apartments that would be much more comfortable based on where they'd previously lived and what they had living in a one bedroom. And so people quickly shifted, and it's been much better having people pick based on the need that they have. In our studio apartments, I tend to say if you are somebody who doesn't like socializing as much and need to get out a little bit and push to do so, that is a great choice for an apartment for you because you have less room. And those that are awesome about socializing on their own and finding their people maybe don't need that as much. And we do have investment accounts as well. And those investment accounts are kind of our buckets where we have operation. So anytime we have an overage in our budget, we have money set aside for that. We have a small endowment that started, and our hope with our endowment is for three things. One, that we would be able to support somebody who would not be able to pay for living at Stevens Place after living here for a while. The second is that we would be able to provide anything that a family might need for a resident that has lived here and needs more services than what we're capable of providing. And then the third is at some point, we hope to have a few residents living here with the support of that endowment as well. And so just being able to provide some support for people early on. We also have a bucket for capital expense. Those of you that are running programs know that buildings don't just magically stay beautiful forever, and things tend to break down. And just hitting that 10-year mark, I will tell you what, they break down about 9.5 years. And so we're experiencing some of those things. It's kind of a fun experience. And then we have another bucket for our next phase, which I'll talk about a little bit. Oh man, in building Stevens Place, full and filling it with residents, I will tell you this. I've been here from the beginning, and so I thought it would be beneficial to put out challenges and then things that I think we've done well. And I think our biggest challenges have been just over time finding the right fit team, the right person for the right position. And there were many nights where I agonized over decisions and hiring. And as much as I took the time to make those decisions, I think it was the right thing to do. We've got some really fantastic team members. Our management team is amazing and has been here. I think you might have it in another slide, but the shortest amount of time is 5 years, with the exception of one person. So that's pretty cool. Our census and marketing plan, walking into a building that had, I mean, on my first day, there was nobody here, but essentially two residents planned for living here in a 41 apartments, and not having a plan to fill it was a challenge. And I think, those first 3 years of getting to know other programs and going out and meeting families and people who might recommend Stevens Place to others, the biggest challenge was, are you still going to be there? You've got getting two people living there, and then it was four people, and then it was six, and so getting people to understand we would continue to be here, and it would, become something that was beneficial for the residents, and that would be individualized. That was a challenge. So fundraising partners, a private pay program. I think maybe that's always for fundraising. One of our biggest challenges is our families support us and they pay rent every month, and they're great partners. We're our other partners. So we've really worked on that. And then I would say for me personally, the entrepreneurial challenge of growing our census from 0 to 1 and all of the things that fall in line with that. So changing policies and procedures that worked for two people that definitely doesn't work for 15, changing the way that you support your team that works for 5 people or 10 people, and then you have 35 people, and you can't do that same individualized, wish I could sit down with you every single week. And so I think that would be, for me personally, one of the biggest challenges, and fun to figure all of that out. And then utilizing contract support for the unexpected moments. So we have contract employees that'll come in and fill in if we have things going on. It really started during COVID, where all of a sudden you'd have 3 or 4 people who had COVID, and you needed to have people here working and supporting your residents. So I could just maybe list a whole slide of COVID challenges. I'm sure we all could. And then knowing our residents always deserve more, I think, is one of my challenges every day, because no matter what we do, I always feel like we could do more. Our residents and our team are amazing people, and there's probably no limit to what I think we should be doing for them. Things that I think we've done well: our team retention. Again, our management team, 7 of our 8 managers here with over 5 years, they've been here half the life of Stevens Place, which is really cool and a benefit for our residents and families, because that historical reference and experience and understanding of where somebody was when they moved in 8 years ago versus today is fantastic to see. Growing from within, we've done well. We had our operations director started as a CNA, went to nursing school, became a nurse, supported the nursing role, became our nurse here. And when the operations role came up, it was kind of a no-brainer for me. I don't know if it was for her, but for me, because she had experience all over the building and in all of our positions, and it's proven to be really successful. We also have had people who came in during COVID and are now in our management team as well. And they came in thinking they'd be here for 2 weeks, 3 weeks that we thought COVID would be. And you've heard some of our other success stories in that area, but it's an area that I feel really strongly about. I think it benefits our residents. and our team to have that strength. Learning from others, there are so many amazing other programs, and this is such a great opportunity to learn about other programs that across the United States, and getting to ask questions when things come up, and getting to learn what other programs might be doing and working on, and their focus and challenges has really benefited us, and we will continue to do that so long as we're able. Individualized plans and support. Our residents don't all, it's not, here's the exercise program for everybody today, or here's what everybody's eating today. It is what is going to benefit you most, and how do we make that happen? And our team has done an incredible job of doing that. It's beautiful, beautiful to watch. Controlling expenses. That is one that is like just a big, I don't know. I love it so much. I've spent time in other industries and in for-profit. It's something that's really paid attention to. And it is in nonprofit as well, but the benefit of having the for-profit experience and digging into and really paying attention to expenses has led to an ability to have them in a place here where we don't have to worry about our expenses. We know where they are. And as a team, everybody does a good job of thinking about that. Our family participation, we do family dinners once a year because we can't have everybody here. We actually, part of the reason why we want to develop another phase of Stevens Place is because we can't fit everybody who wants to join for family dinners. Our last family dinner had 120 people, and I'm going to say it was 120 people because our dining room can only hold 120 people. And so anyway, it was big and wonderful, and our families come. And one of the really neat things that I see happen is our families that live locally and are able to visit more, really building relationships with residents that aren't part of their family. And, they'll get holiday cards from family members that aren't their family. And it's just really nice. The idea of building community was something that our founders really had in mind. And you can hope for that from day one. And you can plan for that, and you can put things in place that you hope will build community, but it's really the people that build the community. And everybody's done a great job. I feel really fortunate to be blessed with fantastic families and team members and residents. So one of the benefits of having 41 residents, or capacity for 41, is that we are a small organization. And because of that, we're pretty nimble. And when something happens and all of a sudden we have to change a policy or procedure, the way we're doing something, it's easy to make those changes. When something doesn't feel right, it's easy to change that. When we need to support a resident in a different way, our team is really good about doing that. Small story, we had a week and a half ago, our call system, all of our pagers for it were not working. All of a sudden, everything, and we couldn't get pagers. There are, things coming from other countries that are just challenging to get right now. And so our team was able to, in that day, change how our paging system works. And we're now working on that new system. So kind of fun to be able to do those things too. Those are the moments that feel a little bit stressful, but with a strong team managed to work out well. And we've supported aging in place and supporting residents through end of life. Some really beautiful stories. I'll share one with you in just a moment. And, being that it's not part of our mission, but definitely part of our vision and goal to support people through end of life. I think we've done well with that. And then community partners. When we were, again, a building 40,000 square feet, we had so much space to share, and people would come through that were running other programs supporting our population. They'd say, oh, I wish we could have a beautiful place like this to have our meetings or have our programming. And we would just say, well, why don't you? And prior to COVID, we had 20 different programs every single month in here using our space. And COVID changed that a little bit, but they're back in and we've got them using it again. But we established really strong relationships with our community partners, and we appreciate what they bring to the table. So a little bit, dig in a little bit to our residents so you can just get an understanding of different types of residents that we support. This is Liz. Liz has lived here for 10 years. So I shared with you that Michael was the son of the family who had this vision. And he was actually our second resident. Our first resident was Liz by one day. And she's been here for 10 years. She, prior to living here, had had jobs. And they had been maybe 1 to 2 years at the longest. And she has now been at her job since prior to COVID. I don't remember the exact number of years, but it's fantastic. She was an essential worker during COVID. And, you know, those of you who went through those moments, we'd meet her at the door and we'd walk her to her apartment and make sure we wiped down all surfaces that she touched. And she'd put her work clothes into a bag and we'd wash them in our commercial laundry. But everything to support her to continue to get to work and be important during what really started out as a scary time in our time. She also, I put this out there so people can understand. She's in a long-term relationship and has been for maybe 6-7 years now. And many of our residents have been in relationships, and it is one more thing that we support. And we work with residents in making sure that those relationships feel how we would want our relationships to feel. And we support them in being able to talk about that. And so I share that. There might be some questions around that, and I'm more than willing to answer those and anything else. This is Ken. Ken came to us, oh my gosh, about 6 years ago. And Ken was employed for 29 years at Starbucks. He worked at their corporate office. He lived in a condo. And as he was ending his employment, his mom really wanted him to live somewhere where he could be for the rest of his life and he would have support and activities and socialization. He was super social at work, and she wanted the same thing for him in life. And so this is where she found. He was here for 5.5 years. Ken passed away earlier this year. And I'll share a little bit about that. But he, during his time during COVID, had knee surgery and hip surgery and did his rehab at Stevens Place, where sometimes people after surgery are sent to an acute care facility where they might be able to better support those rehab pieces. We've just said, this is home. Let's do it. You know, what you and I would do in our homes, our residents get to as well. So it was really awesome to support him in that. He was diagnosed with early onset dementia. And at that time, his mom came to me and said, what are we going to do now? I don't know where to have him go. And I said, what do you mean? This is his home. We're going to support him and we're going to do everything that we can to keep him here through end of life. And so we really did. Our team was fantastic at recognizing when it was time to bring in hospice. And we brought in hospice. My favorite thing about supporting him at the end of his life was we still, at that point, had one of our really large apartments left. And we were able to have him in the living room of that apartment and his mom in the bedroom. And she came down and spent about a week here. And we brought meals in for her, and she got to spend that last week of his life with him, as well as residents getting to visit, team members getting to visit. So just a really special thing to get to respectfully provide a thoughtful end of life for somebody. And this is not Kelsey, but we have a resident named Kelsey. She has a seizure disorder and was not able to live on her own due to the type and severity of the seizures that she has. when her family found Stevens Place, they were very excited at the idea, the hope, the maybe that she might live at Stevens Place. She's been here now for quite a while. She lives independently in her apartment with support, and she visits her family regularly, and they come down here, and she's regularly in and out of the community doing things. And so somebody who has a seizure disorder where it really affects day-to-day life and your ability to go anywhere or do anything on your own, for us, we are handling that, and I love that we can. Our next steps as an organization, we are we're in the process of designing a building for community center and respite housing. We don't have any respite housing in Southwest Washington, so we're looking at doing something that has some day program opportunities as well as a gym. And then the respite housing would be apartments for up to 30 days. And then hopefully phase 3, building an affordable living model as well. They will be separate entities, and we're really thoughtful on how we set up the businesses themselves. Advice for emerging programs. If you go back and review some of these presentations previously, the advice is fantastic. So I didn't want to duplicate much, but I did want to offer a few thoughts. One, please don't reinvent the wheel. We are all here. We've lived it. Please just ask us. I am willing to share anything. You can call anytime. And what I've learned from other programs is extremely beneficial in what I get to do. Define and be flexible where your mission allows it. That's one thing that I think has been really fantastic. When we started, we were supposed to be a program for 55 and older, and then it was 30 and older. And then we were like, what are we doing? Why does it even matter? So now we're 18 and over. Be okay with saying no also. I think sometimes that's really tough when you're getting started and you're just hoping to fill a building and find the right people. You want to say yes, and you have to get really comfortable with saying it just isn't going to be a good fit. When you're fundraising, I love this. Ashley and I had a great conversation around this. So fundraise for operational expenses, not just your building, but fundraise for operational expenses for at least 3 years, and then continue fundraising for the rest of your life. And ask yourself regularly as you do something for somebody, a team member, a resident, if we can do this for 41 people, then we should be doing this for one. But if we can't do it as an organization when we're full, we don't want to get people have them under the assumption that we're going to be able to do something that we won't when we're full. And then progress, not perfection. So every day, we work on getting better and better. And with that, I'll say thank you so much. I appreciate the time.